All right. Well, thank you everybody for coming here today. My name's Nick Mills. I am the plant manager here at the Baldwinsville Brewery for Anheuser-Busch. It's an honor to have you here, Governor and elected officials. We're really proud to have such a large footprint here in New York, from Patchogue to New Windsor to the Bronx to all the way here in Baldwinsville. And here in Baldwinsville, we've been making beer for 30 years at this plant, and really, really great beers. And I'm proud to say it's due to a great workforce we have with us here today. So that's what makes it happen. Our strong workforce making that difference. And also, though, I got to add the local investments that the state has helped us with here, too. As a company, we've dedicated ourselves to make investments in Baldwinsville, but we also owe it to the state for their great assistance in that. Governor, it's really been a pleasure working with you and your staff, and I look forward to future relationships as well. And with that said, once again, I want to thank everybody for coming. And I'd like to now introduce our county executive, Joni Mahoney, who's also been a great partner to us as well. Joni.
Hello. I'm very happy to be back here. This has been a great day for us in Central New York, having Governor Cuomo here and his entire cabinet and senior staff, and they're all over the region right now doing great things for us. I really appreciate the partnership, and I'm happy to have the governor here. And I would like to acknowledge, hold your applause, I think there's a few of them here. Senator DeFrancisco is with us, Assembly Member Will Barclay, Town of Lysander Supervisor John Salisbury, Secretary, Treasurer, Chief Principal Officer of Teamsters Local 1149, Steve Richmond is here. And my apologies to Anheuser-Busch because I stole from you Onondaga County's Commissioner of Facilities, Dwayne Owens, right, who's back here at Anheuser-Busch where he was employed before he came to Onondaga County. This story is one that is told over and over, and sometimes it has different endings. When I became county executive, not long after that, InBev acquired Anheuser-Busch, which always gives us, especially in upstate New York, pause, because we have seen when international companies buy our local companies that sometimes that doesn't mean good things for us. And we had a great leadership team here at Anheuser-Busch, and we looked at what this Baldwinsville plant did relative to the other plants, because if there's going to be cost cutting, you don't want to be the obvious choice. And the local communities, the school districts, the towns, the county, we came together and did what we could, but it really took this creative effort from the state to do things like invest in that new line that could create the 24-ounce cans and the kinds of machinery and the talent here makes it so that this plant is on firm ground, because this is so important to that network of breweries that Anheuser-Busch has. If they want to try a new product, they're coming here to this Baldwinsville plant, and it's a real testament to the partnership of the people that work here, the management, the Teamsters, the employees, and the state government recognizing that in order to keep us competitive, we have to be able to do things that other people aren't doing. And I want to thank the governor, because it was a scary time for us, and it is a bright future that we have here at this plant, and I know there's more to come. And I would like to introduce to you somebody who has been a friend to Central New York since the day he got here. There's a lot that's happened here in a very short amount of time, because Governor Cuomo's really committed to Central New York, upstate New York, the state as a whole. Welcome, Governor Andrew Cuomo.
Thank you very much. First, I want to thank Nick Mills very much for his tour of the plant and allowing us to interrupt the operations just somewhat. Just one sip worth, I noticed. Very disciplined. I want to thank Anheuser-Busch for letting us visit and for their kindness and cooperation with the state of New York. And I want to thank the Teamsters for being the best workforce in the United States of America here at this plant and every other plant. And also, it's a pleasure to join my colleagues, Senator DeFrancisco and Assemblyman Will Barclay. We're all over the Central New York region today. We have program we call Capital for a Day, where we bring all the commissioners from the state government in Albany, and we bring them to a region to meet with their local counterparts to talk through what that region needs to get done. So rather than sending emails back and forth and phone calls back and forth, there's still nothing like getting in a room and looking the other person in the eye and seeing what the problem is and work it out. So we're doing that all through the region. And we're working on housing issues, we're working on job training issues, we're working on environmental issues, whatever the particular needs of the community. But the one bottom line, the common denominator, and the one central focus that we've been working on for 4 years in the state is jobs, 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 right? Because nothing works if you're not producing jobs. If that economy isn't growing, then there's no tax base, young people are leaving, and upstate New York has seen that for the past 30 or 40 years. And we've been working desperately hard to change the trend and get more jobs coming to upstate New York rather than leaving. And we've had some success. You have had more job growth in upstate New York over the past few years than we have seen in a long, long time. And you can feel the energy changing, and you can feel a sense of optimism that people feel the economy is moving. But you have to work at it every day. You know, these companies, every day there's another acquisition, there's another merger, every day there's another rumor about another company moving out. And states are almost in constant competition for businesses. You know, we have Anheuser-Busch here. They must get 3 phone calls a day from other states saying, come here, we'll give you this, come here, we'll give you this. So you have to stay on your toes, and it really is a competition to keep the businesses you have and grow the businesses you have. So there was a time when Anheuser-Busch was really assessing its options and deciding what states to move into, what plants to consolidate, et cetera. And as you heard from the county executive, there was a real, there's always a real option that a corporation makes a decision in their own economic interest, and overnight they can wipe out hundreds of jobs. And there was a time when we were afraid of that with Anheuser-Busch. The exact opposite happened. We worked very hard with the company. The state invested tens of millions of dollars in tax credits and incentives to Anheuser-Busch, and they doubled down on New York. They've created more jobs in New York, about 300 more jobs downstate, and they committed to staying in the state and committed to keeping the plants open. Part of it was the state incentives, and part of it is when you're doing things right, there's a positive synergy to it. One of the things we did right is there has been an explosion in the state on the craft brewing industry. And the state government deserves credit in that, because the state liquor laws were so tedious and so detailed, it really made it very hard to open a craft brewery, because the state liquor laws were drawn up during Prohibition, so they were very restrictive. And then you had this blossoming industry that came out of nowhere. Craft beers, cideries, distilleries, New York now making gin, making margaritas, making bourbons. So we changed the laws. We invested in this industry. And part of your success here now is you are in the new beer industry, right? You're not just making Bud and Michelob. You're making something like 60 products now. And the synergy, the connection between these craft brewers and Anheuser-Busch has brought a whole new industry into the fold. And that's happening in New York because we've worked very hard to partner with that industry. So knowing that the jobs are here, knowing that the jobs are here to stay, knowing that this state is the home of Anheuser-Busch, they believe in us, they're creating more jobs throughout the state, and they intend to stay in the state of New York. That makes the investment of the state government a wise investment that's going to pay dividends, because these are good jobs. These are good union jobs with stability, with security, with benefits, and we need more of them. The bottom line is, whatever incentives we put on the table, and however creative we are, Anheuser-Busch stays here for one reason, and that's because of you. Because you are the best workforce they can find anywhere. And at the end of the day, whatever the business is, it still comes down to the quality and the talent of the workforce. And that's about you. So my hat is off to you for doing the job that you do, as well as you do it. And we couldn't have done any of this. We couldn't have done the state grants, the state negotiations with Anheuser. We couldn't have spurred the craft industry if we didn't have government working. And right now, you look around the country, government isn't always working. You look down at Washington and you see government is doing this, you know. They're pointing fingers, they're fighting, there's gridlock, there's politics all over the place. One side's blaming the other side. And that used to be the same way in Albany for a lot of years. I remember every year when it would come time to do the budget was supposed to be done on time. Budget was never done on time. Everybody would blame everybody, and the state looked like a joke, looked like a bunch of clowns in Albany, frankly. That is the old Albany. We now have a state government that works, and today is the product of a state government that works. And the reason it works is not because we don't have differences, because we have differences. We have to come to three-way agreements on everything. You have the Senate, the Assembly, and the governor's office, and if you don't get all three to agree with you, then you don't get anything done. And a lot of times the legislature's wrong, so I have to figure out how to deal with them anyway. But what we have decided to do is that we work together and we compromise and we leave the politics outside of the room. And if you compromise, you get something done and you move forward. If you fight and you point fingers, you get nothing done. And when you get nothing done, everybody loses. So we've had a productive relationship with the Senate, the Assembly, and the governor's office, where we manage our differences and we keep the ship moving forward. And this ship is moving forward. And this is an example of it. But it wouldn't happen without my colleagues in the legislature. And I hate to say good things about them because then they use it against me when we get to Albany, you know. But the truth is, Senator John DeFrancisco, who is a senior senator and is looked to by the entire Senate for guidance, really has been a gentleman and a professional and has always put the interest of the state before his own interest. And that's, to me, what a statesman is all about. It's not about your interest. It's about the interest of the state, and he has always done that. And the same with Assemblyman Will Barclay, who is here with us today. So with no further ado, I will give you Senator John DeFrancisco, and then you'll hear from Assemblyman Will Barclay. But thank you very much for the tour. I expected a little bit more than a sip before I leave, Nick. I'm not leaving with just that sip, just so you know. Thanks for having me. Thank you.
The governor's right. I'm a very humble man, and I put everyone else's interest ahead of Central New York. But seriously, there's a direct correlation why government's been working over these last 5 years and who is in government. First of all, during the 5 years that we had an on-time budget, there was a governor by the name of Andrew Cuomo. But most people don't know that during that same 5 years, the finance chairman was Senator John DeFrancisco. And I like to say that that's the reason why there's been on-time budgets. But I've been in government in the Senate for 23 years, and so I've represented this area where Budweiser's located for that period of time. And I've watched the success, I've watched the ups and the downs. And unfortunately, I've watched some great manufacturing companies downsize or go out of business. That's why this partnership now is so important. We need the good-paying jobs. We need the jobs with the skilled employees. We need jobs that people could support their family in a reasonable and a much better way than we've been seeing in the immediate past. So I've been happy to be part of the governor's movement to try to make sure that these great manufacturing companies continue, prosper, and grow. And you've got some great people working as lobbyists for you who remind me whenever there's some problem or something on the horizon that they got to deal with. So we try to deal with it ahead of time, and that's when we contact the governor and his office to try to find the solution, as some of these grants and tax credits and the like have done. I also want to just say very briefly what a great plant manager you have in Nick Mills. He's a regular guy. He's a regular guy, and I know he's in the plant all the time, and everybody knows him by first name, and that's how they deal with people. And the unions on the other side are exactly the same way. They're working together like we're trying to do in government, and that's what makes this successful. We can't afford in any way to lose jobs in this plant. We've got to grow them, and we'll do everything we can in partnership with the governor to make that happen. So thank you, congratulations on your great success, and thank you to the great employees which make all of this possible. And I'm just going to introduce Will Barclay, my counterpart in the Assembly, who represents this area.
Thank you, Senator, and thanks for the great leadership you provide in the State Senate and for the town of Lysander and the Central New York region as a whole. Governor, thank you again for being here in Syracuse. Again, welcome to my district in Lysander, but I hope you come back a lot because the news that you keep delivering from my district continues to be good news. We did the Super Dirt Week. It's going to Oswego County that we're very excited and kept it in Central New York. Thank you very much for the governor's leadership there. As I think both the county executive, the governor, and the senator said, obviously this plant is very important to our area. And one thing I think we focus a lot in New York, and it's important, is we're trying to attract new business in New York. We've been focusing in Oswego County, particularly on tourism, and I think that's important. We got to continue to do that. But at the same time, we have to always remember that we have some great manufacturers and great companies here in Central New York, and certainly Anheuser-Busch is one of those, if not one of the best, if not the best. So I also want to thank the governor for concluding. This is it for me, other than the reception later on. I can't think of a better place to conclude than at a brewery, especially an Anheuser-Busch brewery. So I appreciate you deciding that. Like the senator, I just want to thank Nick Mills and congratulate him on the great job that he does here. I mean, this guy started off as a brewmaster and then went to the plant manager. I mean, if there's one person in this country that shows that dreams can come true, it's Nick Mills. So, Nick, keep up the good work here, and for the workforce here, thank you for all that you do for our area. Keep it up. You make a great product, and I'll leave you just with one thing. You keep making the great product, and I'll keep supporting this great product by drinking as much Budweiser as I possibly can. So. Thank you very much.
And that concludes our program. Thank you very much, Governor Cuomo, for being here, Senator DeFrancisco, Assemblyman Will Barclay, and Nick, thank you very much for hosting us here today, and to all of your employees for all that you're doing. Keep up the good work.